There it is. Hey everybody, how you doing? We're back. We're here. Yay, right here. I see it now. I don't know if anybody else sees it, but I see it.
Oh, gotta love the inside blind jokes.
Right? Okay. So much going on here now. Like
Just waiting for
Yeah, it looks like we're live. Yeah, I see us now.
All right.
There we go.
I'm looking at me, looking down at my phone, looking down at me, looking down at my phone. Okay, so that's some inception right there.
That's so funny because you told me scheduling in advance was possible, and I was like, "Oh, now that I know it's possible, I just got to figure out how to do it." And I watched a video, and I was like, "Now I'm an expert." And then, but it all came down to that one time, like now, like at 11 o'clock, you have to put in the links and then press go live, and then wonder what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Jay, you have the floor.
All right, this is going to be a bit excited. This is going to be a bit
excessive. Let me turn down my headphones because I feel like you're about to scream.
Go ahead. Let me know when you're ready.
All right, we're good.
And we are live. Welcome to Inspirations Beyond Disability, the show where 3 disabled individuals talk about the topics that impact our world. It's real topics in real time. My name is Jay. I am the baritone blurred, and I am not alone. Joining me on this panel of pontificating gentlemen is Ezrick, also known as Blind in New York. Ezrick, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. Just ready to start this discussion.
Yeah. And we've got the CEO of Public Access America. We've got Jason. What's going on, Jason?
I'm just too excited to be with you right now.
Yes. It is a beautiful Friday, and we are ready to kick it off. Let's get into it. That was probably entirely too loud, but yeah.
Nope. It sounded good to
perfect.
Me. I just want to let everybody know we have a live stream going on YouTube right now. If you're not watching it, you could click through and check it out. And if you're listening to the podcast, which is going to come out the following Monday, you gotta go subscribe and find our live streams over on Public Access America until we move everything over, Perfect.
Got it.
All right. There you are. So I think we're all trying to manage our stuff at the same time as talking and getting ready. Like, okay, now we're live. My microphone is over to the side right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel bad we're missing Dave. Tell you, Dave.
Yeah, definitely.
Dave, we miss you, bro. We'll see you next week.
Right. It's just we're so cliquey and didn't want you here today.
Man.
So what's going on, Ezrick? What's going on with you?
So update on my recovery process.
Yeah,
I assume the dilation has worn off, or at least it's going to by tomorrow, because like I can see numbers, I can read large enough text.
Cool.
I haven't tried like squinting to see like text on like TikTok like I used to be able to. So hopefully by like Sunday or Monday that should be no longer an issue. But I have noticed a significant increase in like as far as light sensitivity. Nice. So like before I used to have my phone at like 100% brightness. Now it's sitting at 50. Occasionally when my eyes are a little too like overwhelmed, I'll turn it down to 30, 25. So it's doing something,
That's cool.
That's good to hear, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So you still have a gas bubble in your eye?
As far as what I was told, by this past Monday, it was supposed to go away.
Awesome.
But the doctor has said, that like, whatchamacallit, he said last week it was supposed to go away. So to be safe, I gave it like 3 extra days.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't, done what I do best yet. I emailed the doctor to, ask when that is safe.
Right.
Still waiting on an email back, but
done what I do best.
Well, I mean, he doesn't know. He put the bubble in your eye and he knows the basic average of how long it lasts, but everybody's different.
Exactly.
I think it's so cool that they have that technology. I don't know if people understand, like there's skin that's attached to the inside of your eye. and that gas bubble is used to push that skin against the walls of the eye, like a Band-Aid. You know what I mean? So it's so cool to me that that this technology is there, and now you're actually seeing. Are you
Well, in
seeing
my case,
better
it
than you
wasn't.
used to then, or are you just getting back to where you were?
Um, I think I'm getting back to where I was as far as like they told me not to expect anything in as far as acuity,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I'm back to where I was able to, to see with acuity. I just need a little bit more of a couple of days just for the full dilation to wear off.
Hell yeah.
But actually, it's not a gas bubble, it's an air bubble that I had. I
Okay.
think there's a slight difference with a gas bubble. It's I think like the recovery process is about a month to 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
With an air bubble, it's short acting, so the recovery time is like about 2 weeks.
Nice.
So there's that. And yes, like you said, it is, to attach, reattach certain parts of the eyes. For me, it was when the air bubble formed when they made the injection into my retina.
Mm-hmm.
So when, they implanted a new piece of DNA into my retina. It's kind of fascinating how they do that.
That is so cool. So cool that some doctor was just like, I think I want to do this today, and started doing it.
Listen, this took years in the making. Like I think it was 2 to 3 years after I was born that they started this research, down in Jay's stomping grounds.
Down in Philly. Oh, that's right. You did have it done down here. I forgot
Yeah.
about that. Man, I wish my stomping grounds would start working on RP something seriously, because there's all these trials, but nothing.
So ironically, I was diagnosed a couple of years back with RP on top of what I had, which made me like question like my eye condition.
Right.
And when I saw, the doctor and PA, seeing as this man is like the specialist as far as my, my indefinite eye condition, the eye condition that I've known to have since birth, which is Leber's congenital amaurosis, RPE65 gene mutation.
Right.
And when I asked him about that, he was like, well, Leber's is just a form of RP that is started from birth, as opposed to where RP, it comes in either at an early age, at a late age, depending on what, I guess, gene mutation as well.
Okay. That's interesting, because mine, like I don't know if it came in, a year or two prior, but I was diagnosed at like 3. So like I was told I had mine since birth. Like the confusing thing about, I think, RP is that anything at all seems to be like, oh, that's just a side effect of RP. And I'm like, well, how many side effects are there? Like, if you have hazy vision, oh, don't worry about that. That's just RP. Eye fatigue. Oh, don't worry about that. That's just RP. I want to sleep in all day. Don't worry about that. That's just RP. Come on, man. Like, what is a like legit side effect? Like, I've done my research, and it just kind of seems like everything is swept under the rug. So RP seems to be everything all at one time. I don't really know. Like, okay, you know how certain conditions, like, all right, all these side effects are what's to be expected. When you read online about RP, it's my vision doesn't seem to be much like that at all. So sometimes I wonder if I was misdiagnosed and everybody has just kind of been running with that misdiagnosis since.
Well, to be honest, it's a possibility. I had a friend of mine, for so long, doctors had been telling him he had Leber's. And when I told him about the gene therapy study and how they were doing genetic testing for free, he was like, all right, I'm going to talk to my doctor, see if he could get the DNA kit and, have me spit in the tube or whatever. And he had done that, and he had gotten the results back that, one, he didn't have Leber's. He actually had Stargardt's.
Wow.
So to be honest, it wouldn't hurt to, get genetic testing. The other reason being is like us having an obvious, hereditary blindness, something that is in our DNA.
Yeah.
For me, I've always said this, like if I was to ever, find a partner and decide, all right, we want to have kids.
Right.
My fear of me passing along what I have, I would, feel the need to ask my partner, hey, would you mind, getting genetic testing done to see if you are a carrier of this gene mutation?
Yeah.
In the event that happens, yes, there's other methods. There's in vitro where you can have, the doctor, take, I'm not going to get into the gross details, but like the doctor can,
y'all can find that
find the source of that gene, of that defect, and take it out before it even comes into the stages of that, embryo being formed into like a full fetus.
Right.
So there's that. The other thing is, I wouldn't mind, ironically, like I wouldn't mind adopting a child that is legally blind. Having my own child, I feel like there's some sort of like sense of responsibility of like, you're the reason why I'm like this. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want that for my child.
I get that. Like that can be, I know when we had our girls, man, that was the biggest thing I was afraid of was please don't let any of them have, because at first, so I was given a lot of misinformation by a doctor. I was told at one point that girls couldn't get RP. And I'm like, okay, bet. So if I have daughters, no problem. Then I come to TikTok and meet a bunch of girls who have RP. And it's just like, the hell? Like, y'all just told me like this isn't possible. I've been told this for years. Like it's an X-linked gene that it ends up in men, like women end up being carriers, men end up being the ones to get it. And if you have a daughter, they have a likelihood of being a carrier, but probably won't have the condition. And then you meet a bunch of girls who have RP, and it's just like somebody lied. Like it's hard to find out. So I know when I found out I had my oldest, I was like, whew, like dodged that bullet there. And then my youngest, like after, because I had my youngest after I was already on TikTok, that really became a concern. Like, oh man, is Ava going to end up with RP? I really hope that she doesn't, because I don't want her having to, miss out on being able to drive and miss out on all of the things that I had to miss out on because, of RP. So it is a challenge when you want to have kids, but if your partner is cool with it, I guarantee you'll be a great mentor for that child.
Definitely. Like I said, it's just for me, it's the feeling of like knowing my child is like holds some sort of resentment in the future towards me, knowing that okay, I could have prevented this.
Okay, let me ask this question. All right, so is your condition hereditary?
Yes.
Okay, so do you personally? Because I know mine is also hereditary. I know which side of the family it came down on.
Wow.
Do you hold any like ought toward the person that passed the condition to you?
I have my moments. I'm not gonna lie. There are moments, but I get over it.
No, I dig it. Like I know at first, like I realized unfortunately, because in my family, like it comes down on my mom's side. My mom doesn't have the condition. None of her sisters have the condition, but I think it came down from like my mom, my grandmom, and like that whole side. And I just realized, like, man, you have no control over which things you pass on. Like, unfortunately, especially if you grew up in a family where it's like a lot of don't ask, won't tell. Because like I didn't know it came from my mom's side of the family until about 3 years ago. Like none of them knew. We had members of the family who have conditions, but like because of the generation they grew up in, never got diagnosed. They were the kind that were just like, oh, you just nearsighted. Oh, you're just farsighted. Like, don't worry about it. Like, forget about the fact that you run into walls every single day of your life. Like, you're just not paying attention, right? Like you get a lot of that. So they didn't really get diagnosed. So they didn't really know. So it was like one of those things where like, I know where it comes from, but like, I can't be mad because you had no, I guarantee you, if they had the ability to control that, that would be one of the things that they definitely didn't pass on.
You guys are the first generation to know this stuff, though.
Yeah,
that's what you have to understand.
That's the other thing.
The year Ezrick was born, people didn't know, and like I think I had a mother-in-law that was 70, and I used to ask her like, "What was the dentist like in 1950?" And she'd be like, "Oh my God, it was horrible." So to think that like we always think that people know what we know now, but they don't. They
no clue.
And in fact, like you were saying, you got misinformation from a doctor, and that's because he took the basic average of the patients he had, So he was just like, I don't have any female patients, and you heard what you wanted to hear, what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
to myself, like, my poor family, like, I have macular degeneration that came from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I always think to myself, which family member did I have that was just managing through it and not telling anybody they were blind? Like,
Yeah.
I always think back to those family parties. Like, was it my aunt that just liked to sit there and not really walk
Not
around?
move around. Yeah.
Yeah, and I respect that. I respect them for that.
Because you got to like that's a really good point, because when you think about it, like in generations past, the way that they had to cope with it, especially considering we're making advancements in technology, advancements in
Mhm.
medicine now, like back then, the best, remember, like everybody's gotten that question, like, where are your glasses, right? Can you
Right.
imagine the massive size glasses or the massive prescription that was given to them and was like, yo, just deal with this the best way you can? Like,
Right.
just
Oh,
deal. Like,
Jesus.
here are these glasses that probably won't do a thing for you. Put these
Mhm.
on your face and these should work. Now, if you're walking into things, it's your lack of focus, it's your lack of concentration, it's your fault, right?
Yep.
And they've had to live their life through the trauma of it's your fault. You have to just deal with it. You need to pay attention, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of things that, thank goodness, like I'm glad I was born in the generation that I was born in,
Mhm.
because it seems like finally medicine's going, maybe it's not their fault. Let's figure out like what's going on here, like what's really
Right.
wrong here. So yeah, I totally did that. Like I totally did that.
And there's been a systemic system of push the disabled person to the side.
Yeah.
There's
Mhm.
this thing, there's a theory
Mhm.
in education and jobs where you only pick the best version of a person. And so mental disabilities, physical disabilities, you're pushed off to the side and the resources go to other people.
Yeah.
But I think now people with conditions, people have family members that are getting these conditions too, and they realize, well, they're my family. They can't be,
You can't push them
tossed
to
to
the
the
side.
side.
Yeah.
Right. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
let's work on this. And the research, I mean, do you consider your doctors like superheroes? My doctor used to come in and swoop in and check on me, and he'd be like, "Sorry, I gotta go," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I know you're Superman. You got other walls to break down.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
you for coming in," because it was just so amazing that this guy spent 24 hours a day researching my condition
Yeah.
and eye conditions, and he wanted to know everything, and I just loved him for that.
Yeah.
Listen, that's how I feel about the doctor that I have in. Well, not even the doctor, the surgeon, because the surgeon is the guy that came. Him and his wife came up with this gene therapy over years of research, and every time I see him, I'm like, wow, this man is like, you know, giving the blind sight. Especially like
Right.
I remember the day after my surgery when I went to get my eye patch and whatever the hell they put over my eye after the surgery off. I remember him telling my mother that he got up to the point where with one patient that they walked in, at a young age, because with this surgery, it's a lot better results the younger you are. So like I
Mm.
honestly wish I was like 12. but he was saying that, this patient had walked in with a cane, and then a couple of months later, a couple of weeks later, was no longer having a need for the cane.
Oh wow.
So, you got to think about it. Just like RP, Libers is degenerative. Over
Right.
time, it's
Right.
supposed to go. Just like RP, we don't have a specified day or time.
Yeah.
It's just eventually one day you're gonna wake up, or you're gonna be walking out in the street, and it's gonna close in, and out goes the lights.
Yeah.
That's right.
But that being said, Jesus, lost my train of thought.
No problem. Thank you to everybody in the live stream that's listening and paying attention, by the way.
Definitely. Like, so shout out to all the ones that actually, like watch hardcore and tune in every week. Like, love them. But where was I going with that statement though? Like, it's just
that's why I diverted the conversation while you figured that out.
It's just fascinating that over so many years of research, that he got it to this point where young patients get this and get it so well. And I'm like, part of me is envious, but part of me feels like it's a blessing for those that are young and dealt with these cards,
Right.
and now they have a possible solution.
Well, see, the thing, I dig that. Like, I sometimes with some of the treatments, and you see like, okay, this is only qualified for kids. My thought is always they're working up to us. They have to be working up toward us, because if you're starting with kids and it's easier, they're going to try to figure out the next challenge, right? So when I think about like things like vaccinations, for example, they work oldest backward, right? So they get the oldest out of the way, and then they start working younger and younger and younger. I think for these kind of treatments, you have to start younger and work your way forward. So we're still in a position like to, maybe we're not the first group or the second group or the third group, but the fourth group, yeah, that's us. And that fourth group is because they've tried this on so many other generations or so many other people younger than us, and it's been a success. So I can't wait. Like me and my brother, because my brother has it too. My brother and I both go, the day they come out with a treatment that's effective for RP, I don't care how much in the experimental stages it is, I'm there. I'm there. Right. Start with me, work with me. Let's see how we can get this. Look, we can take as many cracks at this as you like to, because anything to kind of bring my vision, like even if my vision were back to the way it was in like I remember being able to walk to a store without a cane, without a problem, navigate a busy Walmart and be perfectly fine, right? My only problem I would have is I was too stupid to get a shopping cart. I was always the guy that thought he was coming in for two things and had an arm full of crap by the time he went to the checkout counter, right? That was my only problem. But like, if I can get back to even that level of functioning, then I'm good. Like, I'm good. But I think they have to start younger and work their way up. I think it's easier to see like, this is what it looks like before things like go for the worst, or they could turn for the worst, and then try to go forward from there. So I'm hopeful. Like, I wish I was younger. I wish I could fake my age and say I was younger. Like, but I have a feeling that it's going to eventually come forward for us.
Well, I'm gonna tell you why.
I wished we lived in a country to where we could just get this stuff. Like, here's a procedure in Tokyo, go. Yeah.
That I always hear about that. Like, overseas is always doing something experimental. If they paid for us to go, like, look, you can go to Japan. We're going to keep you there for 2 weeks. You're going to get the surgery. You're going to get your after treatment. We're just going to see how it pans out for 2 weeks, and then we'll fly you back home. First off, I'm going just because of the vacation. What can I do in the meantime before the surgery? Can I go sightseeing? Can I go check out a few things? Oh yeah, I'm all for this. Like, how many people can I take with me? I'd like to take my family with me. They're my support system. And my wife would kill me if I went on vacation without her. So like, if that would be nice, but I think that's more of a thing that you would get in other countries than you would get here. But that's
I just like the phrase sightseeing.
Yes.
Sightseeing before I get my vision back.
Let's the irony in that. Oh, jeez.
Make a guessing game out of it. What did you see before you got there? What did you see after? Like, oh, that was a building. Okay, cool.
Yeah, holy cow, I do that all the time. Like, I think somebody's over there like staring at me, and then I realize it's a lamppost or a street sign or something, and
or
I'm like,
shadow.
Yeah.
I wish that person would stop looking at me, babe. That's a shadow. Oh, okay, sorry, whoops. Yeah. Speaking of needs to ask for help. Oh, good.
There we go.
So I keep unplugging my headphones here because I don't have the extender in, and this cord is super short.
You're listening to Inspirations Beyond Disabilities while Jay plays with his microphone. That's called a segue.
I love it. The things I have thought were people.
I just love it, because even if you're sightseeing, the way what you're doing is the same thing. You're still trying to experience something different, So it's just like, would I see New York the same way that people from New York see it? No, but nobody would, right?
Yeah.
And so take me to the Empire State Building, and I guarantee you take me to the top on that glass floor, I'm gonna freak out because I hate heights, right? And so it doesn't matter if you can see or not. When you're like 100 miles up in the air, you're scared.
They took us in 8th grade to the Statue of Liberty, right? And there's a couple places you can actually stop. You can stop, I believe it's like midway up. You can stop at the eyes and look through the eyes, or they can take you up to like the crown, I believe. Like, you're standing on the actual top. And I went to the actual top, and when I tell you, I did not know where that crown began or ended, and I was too terrified to take a step. I will not ever go back up there again. Like that freaked me all the way out. Like it's scary being up there.
It's funny that you mentioned this. These are two places I've never been. I've lived here my whole life.
No, that makes sense. No, that totally makes sense because as a Philadelphian, I've never been to the Liberty Bell. Never had any interest in actually going. Like,
you know, it's funny. I have friends out there too, and they were coming out to New York, and they were like, "How do I?" Well, I'm gonna say it exactly how they said it. They kept asking me. They're like, "How do I get to the big green bitch in the water?" I was like, "Excuse me." And they're like, "The big green bitch in the water." I was like, sorry, run that by me again. The Statue of Liberty. And I'm like, oh, to be honest, I really don't know. I know how to get a ride to look past it.
Yeah.
But I've never really been in it. And they're like, how have you lived in New York City for this long, for your whole life, and you've never been, doing that? You can't even tell me where the museum is. I was like, that's touristy stuff. Like New Yorkers don't do touristy stuff. And he's like, well, if you came to Philly, I would tell you how to get to the Liberty Bell. I'll tell you how to go to this place. I'll tell you, I'm like, well, that's based on directions. Maybe that's the difference.
No, because that's based on directions from an 8th grade class trip. There is no adult in Philadelphia that's like, you know what I want to do today? Go to the Liberty Bell. There's nothing that go visit the tourist sites. Like those are for tourists. Like when people always ask me like, hey, where to get a cheesesteak from? I'm not telling you Max's or Geno's. Those are tourist spots. Their cheesesteaks are average at best. If you want a good cheesesteak, you go to the hood. You go to these spots that you have to travel all the way out yonder to get to. You don't go to touristy spots. People who live
I'm still waiting for that list.
Yeah, right. Me too.
I inboxed you a list on TikTok. Like you can go to what is it? Oh goodness. It's on Broad and Erie. It's right off of Broad and Erie. This is not Max's. It's off Broad. I cannot think of the name of it, but it's one off Broad and Erie. There's one out in West Philly. But they're not tourist spots. Those tourist spots, it is actually called Max's. I thought the tourist spots are called Pat's and Geno's. Those are the two tourist spots. Like those are for people who've come to Philadelphia who want an average cheesesteak. If you want something that's like you can go home and tell your friends, I've had an authentic Philly cheesesteak, you go to Max's and Broad and Erie. That's a plug for them. They're not sponsoring us at all. But they are like, nobody does the touristy things. Like who goes, like Jason, you said you were from Chicago. How many times have you gone to the Sears Tower on average?
I've been there like 12, 13 times.
12, 13 times throughout your entire life?
Yeah, I love it.
That's interesting because I know every time I talk to somebody here, they're like, I don't go to Liberty. Like, what am I going to the Liberty Bell for? It's a cracked bell in the middle of downtown. It's the thing you go past, when you're trying to get somewhere on Market Street. Now, I'll go to the gallery.
Will you go to Philadelphia? Would you go to that area and just walk around aimlessly and find a restaurant or a bar or, just walk down the street and window shop? Would you do that in Philadelphia?
In Philadelphia? Yeah, downtown Philadelphia. Yeah, I would. There's a lot of good restaurants and spots to eat at between 13th and Market, 2nd and Market and 13th and Market. That's like my favorite part of the city, period. So because there's so much to do down there.
If you had family or friends in town and you were walking through Philadelphia and you passed the building where the Liberty Bell was and they were like, should we go in? You'd be like, yeah, it's not something you would do, but you would hang out in Philadelphia. Like I didn't go to the Sears Tower to go to the Sears Tower. I went to Chicago and walked past it and was like, yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? Then that's what it was. It wasn't like specifically going to Chicago to go to Navy Pier or, to any specific site. You just kind of go and walk around and, like window shop. And when I say window shop, I say, look at the women in Chicago.
Like for me, it's just like when you walk past the Liberty Bell, my first thought is like, should we go in? I'm like, there's a great food spot like up there just because I'm fat. Like I'm thinking about the food that's down there. And I normally wouldn't come down there to eat, but like it's a great spot to do. But I don't find too many people like just going for the sake of going. Like that would be, I don't know. Maybe some people do, like the Mall of America's here in Philadelphia. Like unless you're actually going to the mall for something, there's other malls here I'd rather go to. But I don't know.
I get it. But why would you do that stuff unless somebody dragged you? Like,
Yeah.
I'm blind. There's places I end up on a daily basis, and I'm like, I didn't even know this existed. Because
Yeah.
people just drag me to the weirdest places. So
Yeah.
if somebody wants to come and visit like Pensacola and they're like, let's go to the beach, I'll be like, sure, but I never go to the beach. Like my skin is see-through and then it just explodes. There is no tanning. You know what I mean? I'm Nordic, so I mean, if you want to go to the beach, you'll drag me to the beach, but I'm gonna find a restaurant across from the beach that has air conditioning, and I'm
Yep.
gonna just like watch and have fun.
Like, you guys go ahead and have fun. I'll be sitting here in this air conditioning with my laptop or my tablet doing something. Like,
Right.
yeah.
I love that. You guys are amazing. So we did have a topic, right? And we're about half an hour in, so I'm just gonna
Yeah, I
forgot
believe the
all about
topic
that.
was asking for help as a man and what defines a man. At least,
yeah. I did want to know what defined a man because I'm hearing Jay, and it seems like a bigger concern to you that
It
you
is.
know that you need to prove that you're a man as opposed to like I my late wife was Filipino and men were treated a little differently than how you explain what a man is. And
Right.
I'm wondering if Ezrick, with your background, a man is something, more macho, you know what I mean? Or if it is just similar. So I'm just kind of curious as to what a man really is.
So I know for me, I think a lot of mine stems from like cultural, like what the culture, the community kind of expects from you, right? Like
Right.
the man is defined as like in the community. You're supposed to be able to fix things. You're supposed to be able to, have a car and drive. You're supposed to be able to protect. You're supposed to be able to, do all of
provide.
these other things, provide, right? You're supposed to be able to do all of these other things, right?
Hmm.
And when you're a disabled man, you kind of lose certain things, right? You can't drive. So that's X'd off the list, right?
Right.
Depending on what the item is, you're not necessarily a fixer, right? Because it requires you to be able to see intricate things that you're not going to be able to typically see with a visual impairment. That's kind of X'd off the list. Depending on your ability to be able to live in a city that accommodates that has jobs that accommodate for the blind and visually impaired, that can be X'd off the list, right? So a lot of times, and then the protecting factor, depending on where you live, can be way more dangerous than you ever anticipated. So sometimes that can get crossed off the list depending on where you live. So like a lot of times people challenge your quote unquote manhood because those typical things are not able to be, done in a manner that people expect them to be done.
Right.
Definitely.
Okay. What do you think a man is? I mean, what was your dad like, Ezra? Do you know any men in your family that were like, that's a man? You know what I mean?
I'm gonna say like my uncle. I shout out to him, my uncle and my stepfather, both strong, tough men that, provide for their families. For me, I've grown up around women, right? So like I was raised by my grandmother, raised by my mother, and I think a lot of minorities, tend to have that lifestyle. And having a father figure, is not really something that we come across as often.
Yeah.
So you latch on to, other family members, uncles, in some cases, if you're lucky enough, a stepfather. And, that's a brilliant, wonderful thing to have, in some cases, but some people aren't even so lucky. So they have to go by what the media has, portrayed as what a man should be. And ironically enough, I'm wearing, pink today because I figured, listen, a real man wears pink. A real man isn't afraid to show that, yes, he's still masculine, but there is still, some sort of, I don't want to say feminine touch to him, but like a sensitive, demeanor.
Independent.
That we are still capable of having feelings. I know the media has made us, seem like men shouldn't have feelings. Men shouldn't, cry. Men shouldn't, give a crap about, how what he's saying is making somebody feel. But in my opinion, we should.
Very
We
true.
shouldn't be afraid to. It's only human. It's only part of human nature.
Right. And that's I'll media does play a big part in that. Hold on just one second. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No worries.
I'll just say, like, for me, it was always commitment and loyalty. Like, a woman didn't really care if I could bench press 300 pounds. She cared whether I would be by her side in a crisis. So it was less about what I could do, and it was more about just being there, more as an equal. But I know that, like, mainstream media doesn't portray men as that. Like, if your wife needs a hug and needs someone to talk to, you're there, right?
Yeah.
If your wife gets a flat tire, you're there. And that's what a man is next man up. Whatever needs to be done next, like, I'm doing the dishes, honey, because you're walking the dog. Oh, you're back from walking the dogs. You're doing the laundry while I'm setting the table.
Yeah.
It's just next man up. And I don't know. I've always known people that allow me that luxury instead of saying I'll do everything because you can't do anything. They're like, okay, this is what's coming up next. Cut that watermelon up. And if you can't do it, tell me. But if you can, just do it.
Yeah. And I think that's more of what I experienced. Like, my wife is like, what makes you a man is that you're here, that you're, it may not be like, I know I'm about to transition into more of a provider role when I finish this internship. But her whole thing is you're here and you provide support for the kids. You provide, strength. You provide prayer. You provide a lot of things that matter, and when you find somebody like that, you hold on to it. The problem sometimes is dealing with outside perception, dealing with like people's thoughts and opinions, and sometimes that weighs on you, especially when as a disabled person, when nobody can notice your disability, right? Like, when I go on dates with my wife, for example, I don't take my cane because my wife sight guides me. Like, she sight guides me everywhere I go, which is fine because I get to, hold on to my wife while I'm walking. That's always a plus, right? So nobody sees the disability, so it becomes like an invisible disability. So when people see her do certain things for me, it's kind of like, well, ain't that your job? Like, ain't you supposed to be the one to do that? And it's just like, outside perception, it's easy to say who cares or it doesn't matter, but to say that you don't notice it or that it doesn't at least get a little under your skin would be lying. Those perceptions are the challenges to deal with, right? You could be with a crowd of 5-6 people that all know, understand, and appreciate what you bring to the table. But those 2 people that aren't minding their business, that feel like saying something stupid, that feel like doing something stupid, right? Those are the people that like work your nerves the most. So it's hard to kind of deal with that perception, right? We all know, first off, it is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to be emotional. It is okay to have feelings or to wear pink. Heck, I got 2 daughters. I wear pink more often than I ever thought I would, right? And it doesn't bother me a bit. But unfortunately, the whole world, especially in minority communities, hasn't gotten the memo yet. And I need them to get the memo, because when it comes to especially disabled men, like, you are more than finances. You are more than, needing to throw your hands. Like, you are much more than that. And a lot of times, some of the best men you will come across are disabled men. So it's just a matter of getting that memo out there.
Yeah.
It's great that, I'm sorry to cut you off, Jason,
No, go ahead.
but I just wanted to say that it's great that you say that, because I find it, as being a single man, finding somebody out here is like, it's difficult, because every woman just sees the disability and goes, why, do I want to be with somebody that I feel like I'm gonna have to look after? Like, no,
caretake.
Like, that's not that's not the case.
Mommy nurse.
I'm fully capable of handling myself, but there's certain things that I'm not capable of doing, that I rather not, or I know I'm not capable of. Like, for me, I just rather not cook.
Right. I think what's amazing is that, like, there's a strong man that can do things, but then when you think that a blind man has to do the same things without the skill set and still accomplishes it, I think that makes us kind of stronger.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like, we figure out how to get things done without eyesight. You know what I mean? Like, we just connected all this stuff on the internet without eyesight. Like, isn't that kind of cool? Like, I don't know. Like, I just don't get that. Like, I still accomplish everything that needs to be accomplished. Although there's times when my wife would make the end tables from IKEA instead of me because,
Yeah.
she
She can
told me,
read the instructions.
right. Well, she told me my dad didn't want me depending on a man, so he taught me how to build things, and I was
Yeah.
like, that's awesome. You know what I mean?
That's actually my wife. This boom arm, right? Let me see if I can pan it down. This boom arm, if for those who can see it on YouTube, I don't know if you can or not, but this boom arm came with, I don't know if you guys have seen today's versions of instructions. It's basically a picture with a bunch of arrows. It might as well just say good luck on the bottom, right? Because it doesn't do what it used to do anymore, right? Remember step 1, insert this piece into that piece. No, it's just pictures, right? So I immediately, like, it took me a long time to like humble myself and go, hey, babe, I need help. Like, I can't put this thing together. First off, I can't tell what these pictures are even doing. Second off, I don't even know if I have all of the pieces right. Because, there's always that one thing that you need in the box. You go, what the heck is this, right? So I had to go, hey, babe, can you help me put this together, right? And she's like, sure. She has my back on those kind of things, and she doesn't treat me as less of a man. She knows my limitations, and she goes, okay, well, you can't do that. There are certain things that I can't do that you can. So it's like, it's a teamwork thing. That's part of being in a relationship. It's me covering your weaknesses and you covering mine. Because if we're covering each other's weaknesses, then in a group front, there is no weakness. There is no weakness. But a lot of people aren't really partner minded. That's a whole different podcast. But a lot of people aren't really partner minded when it comes to building relationships. You're looking for what you can get out of it instead of what you can bring to it. And that's usually a bigger problem, right? So think about it like this, right? We can't see, but what can we do better than a lot of other people? We sure know how to listen. We sure know how to listen. And how many times have you heard? Because I grew up with a lot of female friends. So I took notes growing up in my life. I have a lot of female friends who were like, he doesn't listen to me. He won't listen to me. And I'm just going, but I will. Like I listen, right? Like I've learned my entire life to listen. I don't just listen for what you're saying. I listen for voice inflections. I listen for that drop in your, like, that's one of the reasons why, like, I remember going on an interview for an internship. They asked me, like, how can you do this with lack of sight? I'm like, I'm listening for what you're saying, but I'm not just listening for what, I'm listening for how you're saying it. I'm listening for everything that goes along with it, things that may not come across in somebody's facial expressions, but can't be hidden in the voice, right?
That's right.
So if you realize that I have 36 years of experience listening to what people say and how people say it, then when you talk about something, I'm going to know something's wrong. When you're feeling a certain type of way, but you're taught to put your best face on, but they never taught you how to put your best voice on. I know when something's going on. And many women are looking for a guy who learns how to listen, but refuse to go to a community that all they do is listen.
Right.
Yep. It's funny that you say that, because like on one of my dating profiles, I forgot which one, but I have, like, in my bio, I'm like, unlike most men, I can listen and feel what your mind and body needs and provide. Simple as that.
What I think is amazing is women are always like, well, he's always looking at other women. Not me. He's always running around.
Ma'am, that's impossible.
I never know where he is. You know where I am? I'm always at home, and I'm never looking at other women.
99.9% of the time.
Last woman I looked at, I was like, hey, look at her, to my buddy. And he was like, she's 14. And I was like, forget it. I'm not looking at women in public anymore. So
that's awful.
I mean, yeah, it is awful. It is awful. And that's just it. I'm always going to be loyal. I'm always going to be faithful. I'm always going to be by your side. Well, I'm probably going to be holding your hand or holding your back while we're in public.
People will always know we're together. There is no issue with that.
I will always open the door for you. You know what I mean? I'll always be a gentleman because I'm still a gentleman, but I get to be a little closer than most men would be. You know?
Right. But think about even the experiences that you've had, right? You know what it feels like to be mistreated. You know what it feels like to be devalued and disrespected, right? So you're not going to do that to somebody else. You're not, like, I know for me, a lot of my negative experiences, the first thing that goes through my mind is I would never in my life do this to somebody else, right? Like, I've been cheated on in my last relationship, right? And I know for a fact, prior to my wife, like, I know for a fact, like I would never turn around and do that to somebody else because the premise was he'll never see it happening. And the thing is like, why would I want to turn around and do that to somebody else? Many people in the blind, like I've seen a lot of stories on TikTok of people talking about they were cheated on because the person that they were dated felt like because they couldn't see that they would never get caught. Like the person they were dating couldn't see, they would never get caught cheating. And the thing about it is that when they find out, it's like, I'm never going to turn around and do that. So why would I turn around as a visually impaired person and try to do that? Secondly, if you can't see, how the heck do you cheat? Well, never mind. That's a whole different story. People try, but that's a whole different story. But like being a man, I think when it comes, I think the biggest challenge for a lot of blind and visually impaired men, though, is asking for help as a man. It's already a challenge from what I see for a lot of guys in general. But like being blind and visually impaired, like putting that, like, I think one of the things is we've been conditioned to ask for help our entire life, whether we wanted to or not. Right. So I think it's easy. I think it may be a little easier for us as men, maybe asking for help because our whole life has been, pretty much asking for help than probably anybody else.
I always think of it as a time efficiency thing. Like you were talking about your boom arm. How much time did you waste before you asked your wife to help you? And how
I
much
took
other,
I took it out of
how
the
many
box.
other chores? How many other chores did you get out of because you were wasting time on your boom mic? What other things could you have been doing and accomplishing if you had just said, I'm not going to know how to do this, honey. When it gets here, just put it together for me. You know what I mean? And as a man, people are like, you should try. Somebody showed me their phone and they were like, I got a new house. And I was like, great. And they were like, you don't care? And I was like, it's not that I don't care. I'm not going to be able to see your phone.
Yeah.
Did you see the pictures on my iPad? No, here. Oh, it's a beautiful house. So it's a perception that people think we're not going to try. We just know what's efficient. You know what I mean? Like I know what I can do and I know what I can't do. So for your wife, you just have to cut out that wasted time and just be like, you do this, I'm going to go do that instead of me sitting here,
Sometimes I'll look at the thing and I'll be like, okay, well, let me see what the pieces look like and see if I can like figure it out. So it's like some stuff is like really easy like that. Other things you pull out, like yesterday, I pulled out the pieces. I looked and I'm like, no,
right.
No, this ain't it. Like this just ain't it. My wife was like, do you need help? I was like, yeah. Because like in the past, they'd be like, no, I got it. But certain things I know, like technology, for example, like putting together setting up a computer, I can still do that. Like putting together printer technology stuff, I can still do. But if it's stuff like, hey, we need to put together this chair, as soon as the screws hit the floor, all 550 of those things, hey babe, no.
This ain't it.
This ain't it at all.
Frustrated at me when I'm putting together a shelf or something. They just want to help me so bad because I'll put a piece in, pull a piece out, put a shorter piece in, pull it out, put it almost all together, then have to take it all apart because there was a piece in the wrong place. And people get so frustrated. But on the other hand, I'm just doing something, right? Like you want me to have busy work, so just give me a shelf to put together and I'll be entertained for 2 hours. Go do your thing. You know what I mean? And when I need help, I'll ask for help. That's what I learned. When I need help, I'm gonna ask for help.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Knowing that we will ask. Like there are some things like with technology, for example. I will sit here, give me 8 hours to figure out something. All right. I used to like when people had viruses on their computer. I used to like being the one like running the antivirus stuff and like trying to figure out like what to do, just because I'm interested in tech. Like Ezrick, like you're interested in cars, like going under the hood of a car. My interest has always been as a hobby to be able to go under the hood of a computer and like figure out what's going on. Right. So if I'm sitting here for 9 or 10 hours scratching my head, frustrating, I'm actually having a good time. Like I'm learning something here. I'm learning what to do, what not to do. And people with me, do you need help? No, I got this one. I'm good. Are you sure you don't need help? Yeah, I'm fine. I got this. And they're like, but it's been hours. Okay, that's fine. I'm learning what to do and I'm learning what not to do. But if I need, like, if it's something like physical, like it weighs like 5 or 10 pounds and could possibly drop on something. No, I'm going to ask for help immediately. Just know that we know when to ask for help, but know when we're also fine too. It may take us way longer, but we're learning. So eventually this will become faster for us. I know for jobs for me, when I worked at call centers, Those 2-week trainings, like they would be like, okay, well, this is the workflow, this is the workflow, this is the workflow. I would ask to stay behind so I could learn. And they're like, are you sure you can do this? Yeah, I'm positive. I just need to know where everything is, because muscle memory after a while will take over, and I will know exactly where that thing is on the screen. And I go from being one of the slowest people to learn the job to one of the fastest people to be able to do it. Because not only, especially when it comes to stuff like scripts and stuff, like people don't take the time. Like we have the ability. I know me, I'm good with memory. Like I will sit there and remember something, like a whole script, speech, dialogue, or whatever. I memorized every script, every dialogue I had to do when I worked for call centers. And people be like, I'm sorry, the screen is just running slow. Give me a minute. Me, I'm going through the script because I already have it in my head, but I'm also doing 2 or 3 other things at one time just because that's my thing. Like I think people don't understand that it may take us a while to get something, but once we get it, we've got it. We've definitely.
Yeah. And we got it down to a science where it's like second nature. Like you said, you had that script already embedded into your head where, the average person is like, give me a second. I'm, the computer's slow, when in reality, they're just trying to pull up the script that they should have memorized.
Yeah. By now. Yeah.
Yeah. And that memory thing is pretty amazing, isn't it? When you can tell your friend, no, last month you told me that today on this date at this time, and they're like, I don't remember that. And I was like, yeah.
My ex used to tease me. She's like, you have the memory of an elephant sometimes. Right? Like your short term is shit. I was like, well, leave me be.
I have a buddy every morning. He'll tell me like the 10 things he hopes to accomplish in the day, and then like the next day I'll be like, all right, I'm going to go do this. And he'll be like, no, I didn't do that yet. And I'll be like, so you're just telling me what you want to do, not what you did.
Yeah.
You're like, tell me what you did so I know what to depend on. Like, but it's hilarious. Like I was in the bathroom and he walked by and he turned the light off in my hallway, and I walked out of the bathroom and I walked into the wall because it was pitch dark. And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I was like, you turned my light off. I was like, do you know if I told my friends that you turned the light off on a blind guy, they would hit me? And he's like, well, it was just in my eyes. I didn't think about you. I didn't know you were in the bathroom. And I was like, yeah, you didn't know. Like, leave it alone. You know what I mean? Like, but I get it. It's those little things that just crack me up. He's like, why did you need a light anyway? You're blind. And I'm like, I ran into the wall.
So you're not at the point where you have the place memorized quite yet.
Right. I'm not. I've only been here like a month, so I'm
okay.
And it's there's a different darkness when you don't know the area.
Yeah,
like I'll wake up and I'll be like, wow, I don't know which direction to walk. Like, where's the door? And I'll feel the wall. Like where in my old apartment, I would just walk right up to a spot and it'd be the doorknob. Yeah. Now I'm walking to a spot and it's like the light switch, and I'm like, that's not right.
Yeah. Listen, I've been living in my apartment for I think it's almost 3 years now, and I still find myself bumping into corners.
Yeah.
And I've memorized this apartment. It's a small 2-bedroom apartment. Like I got this apartment memorized like the back of my hand, but we tend to realize sometimes that we kind of like drift on to a certain direction, or, in my case, I only have one eye. So like, I'll, forget to realize, oh, the whole right side of my body still exists. So like I'll walk through a doorway and my left side is in, but my right side is hitting the edge of the doorway
all the time. There's this corner, actually it's behind me, is this corner going around my hallway where I will forget to course correct as I'm turning, just because by this point, like I just walk aimlessly through the house sometimes, and it's just like I'll turn that corner and my right shoulder immediately will check the wall every single time. I think at this point, me and my wall are enemies, just because I walk by and I bump it like I'm bumping an enemy every single time. But I think it's just like, I know my apartment like full well. Like I can do it with my eyes closed. It's just course correcting to make sure I don't hit anything is a totally different challenge for me.
You know what I learned? People get insulted because what you're talking about, I do to people. Like my left side, I don't realize there's people on my left, and I'll move. Like at the store, I'll go and move, and I'll hit somebody because I didn't see them. So what I do is I tend to watch the crowd, and I watch for the openings, and then I go, because I know where everybody is, and then I go, right? And my friend got really insulted. He's like, just, make your coffee. And I'm like, no, you're kind of there. And he's like, but I'm not in your way. And I'm like, no, but I'm gonna be like in your way. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be annoying to you. I'm gonna be walking into you. I'm gonna be knocking over your stuff. So move your
Mhm.
stuff. I'm not insulting you. I'm just talking to you until you're done, So be done.
That's what I used to do at work too. Like when people were at like, lunchtime, there's a
Mhm.
refrigerator, there's the tea maker, all that kind of stuff. I would wait for that area to completely clear out.
Right.
I'm not even going to run the risk because again, this is before I had my cane. So it's
Mhm.
like I'm not going to run the risk of running into somebody and hurting somebody or thinking I have a problem with somebody or ignoring somebody. So I'm just going to wait
Right.
for the area to, I don't care how long it takes. Like I'm just going to wait for it to clear because it's just
Mhm.
easier that way. When you're in stores, people like the cane is a sign, but sometimes for
Mhm.
some people, two and two don't connect, right? Like I'm not
Right.
carrying this because I'm part of a step team, right? Like I'm
Right.
I'm using this because I can't see. So if I accidentally like bump into you, it's totally an accident. I don't know who you are. I probably don't care who you are. It's just
Right.
totally a mistake. Like, but people look for a reason nowadays, especially depending on where you live. People live
Mhm.
on look for reasons sometimes to be stupid.
For
Listen,
sure.
I got attacked one time by, I think it was a homeless guy.
Oh wow.
And it was because he was talking to some lady. And I guess I was walking, it's late at night. I can't see shit at night.
Mhm.
I'm starting to see a little bit better at night. Shout out to, surgeries doing his job. But I was walking down the street and like bumped into him. And before he had even a time to like, turn around, he didn't even think. He just started swinging from behind. And I was just like, I like walked away as far as I could and I said, I'm sorry, and like continue to walk away. And the lady is like telling him, oh my God, he can't see. And she's like, oh my God, he didn't notice. He didn't notice that you couldn't see. And I'm just like, bro, like it takes 5 seconds to turn around before you start swinging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
It
Yeah.
takes 5 seconds to turn around. Like I've never met anybody that just immediately his reaction is to start swinging when somebody bumps into them. I was just like,
Right.
I was so livid that happened that when I finished doing what I was doing, I came home and I was furious with my mother. I was like, why did you send me to go pick up your kids?
Yeah.
Like this just happened to me. Like I scuffed up my
Mhm.
boots in the snow because walking, being blind and walking through snow is like the worst
Yeah, it
freaking
is.
thing. A cane is not a shovel. I'm gonna tell
It
you
really
that.
is. It really
It is
is.
not a
It
shovel.
really
It does
is.
not work any way, shape, or form through snow.
It is not a
And
snowplow at
Right.
I've
all.
I've scuffed up brand new boots. I had just been attacked by this homeless guy, and yes, I successfully picked up my sisters because once I got to the general vicinity of where I thought the building was, I had to stop somebody and go, "Hey, where's the YMCA?"
Mm.
And they were like, "Oh, well, you're standing like 2 feet in front of it." I'm like, "Oh, okay,
That's great.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Can you lead me to the door?" Yeah, here you go. Boom. But like the fact that all happened,
Mhm.
just like boiling point. I came home and I was like, why?
That
Why
that
did I have to
Right.
do this? Like,
that's one
you
of
could have
the
done this.
that's one of the big frustrations with going, like when you're sent places that you're not familiar with going to, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to navigate and you have to deal with people's ignorance. Like that can be a real big challenge. Um,
Mhm.
Especially like I'm glad they helped you into the YMCA, but I've
Yeah.
been places where like they'll see the cane and their first
Oh,
thought
they'll
is
walk
to,
past.
not even that. That would sometimes that would be nice.
Right.
The times where they hit the record button for social media entertainment as
Mm.
they watch you struggle.
I am so glad I've never like witnessed that. And if they
Oh,
did
I
do
have.
that, I was not able to see it. So you know what? Fingers crossed that doesn't happen.
Right.
But if it does, I think I would literally speak up and say something like, "Hey, I'm not a spectacle to you.
Yeah, and
Either you're
that's
gonna fucking help me or you're gonna fuck off.
like
Simple as that."
some people like again that I think that comes with education because I don't think enough people are educated to know that a disabled person struggling is not content. It's not content for your Instagram. It's not content for your Facebook or Twitter or wherever you're posting. Like it's not content. You
Mm.
know, I've seen videos. I know at one point, one of the big reasons, I don't think I talked about this before, but one of the big reasons why I didn't want a cane is because I seen a video on YouTube years ago. Thank God it got pulled. of a person asking for help to get on a subway train.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically told the person like, hey, it's right in front of you. Don't worry about it. And the person stepped off and onto the tracks because there was no train there. And the people that were shooting the video thought it was just the funniest thing in the world. They thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And in my head, I'm going, oh no, nobody will ever know.
I have 2 questions to this video. One, was this in Philly or was this like New York?
I honestly don't know.
Or Chicago.
I honestly don't know.
My only reason for asking is I've noticed, at least this is from my opinion, I've noticed that some of the train stations in Philly don't have as big of a drop off as they would in New York. Like from what I've been told, the drop from the platform to the tracks is a whole 6 feet.
Yeah, it is.
And they've always told us that if you don't, when you fall, if you haven't broken an ankle or broken a leg, the second thing that you have to worry about is the third rail, or the simple fact that you're going to get hit by a train. If you're not lucky enough to get pulled up by somebody, because
you're waiting for one, of course it's going to come, right?
Obviously.
Yeah, but like those things are like, when I see stuff like that, I'm like, they made a target out of this person because they had the white cane. For me, I was like, you know what? That's why I'm not going to carry one. Like, you're not about to make me a target because I want to ask for help or whatever. But then the flip side is if you're walking down there, especially during crowded times like rush hour or when kids are getting out of school, and you're trying to navigate based on like what you see, and you don't see yourself going diagonal, and you end up on the edge, which has almost happened to me a number of times, trying to like hurry up and walk through the crowd. You have nothing that can give you any tactile feedback. Then you've got a problem on your hands, right? So you have to be, there's a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation. But the cane will more likely save your life. But people seem to think that disabled individuals are funny when it comes to things like that, and try to use this as content.
Right.
I don't know if YouTube is as strict on their community guidelines as they should be when it comes to that, but I'm pretty sure you could probably find somebody making fun of somebody with a disability on YouTube at some point. I find them on TikTok, which is sad because they show up on my FYP.
There's plenty of Instagram videos about the guy with the cane dropping stuff to see what people will do, or walking into a pond, or walking off the side of something and doing a flip. They're disgusting videos. Blind people aren't stupid like that.
Right.
I just wanted to say, like, for me, when I'm in a new location, I'm looking for the edges of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, if I know I'm on a patio, I'll walk over to the edge and feel it with my feet. And my friends will all be like, don't go over there, and it's an edge. And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm here. I'm feeling where it is. So
Yeah.
That muscle memory you're talking about. I'm scouting the land,
Yeah.
I do want to say thank you for listening to Inspirations Beyond Disabilities. It's been an hour, so generally I cut it at an hour. So anything after that will just be live stream content, or I don't know, maybe another episode. You never know.
Can't do another one without Dave.
I think we just need to realize that I have this theory. If you think about me, I'll think about you.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if you don't want me thinking about you, just go past me. Just ignore me. Just let me struggle. But I'll think about, like, I have a roommate. I make dinner. He cleans up, right? Like, I like to cook because I'm not good at cleaning. He's good at cleaning. He's not very good at cooking. So we have these roles, what I mean? And but that's that thing. If you want to make fun of me for cooking for you, guess what? I'm not going to cook for you anymore.
Yeah.
I'll learn to clean.
Definitely.
Good luck with microwavable stuff.
Right. Well, I know where the one button is that just increases it every. Caitlin told me about that. She was like, just push that button. Push it. Keep pushing it.
The add 30 seconds.
30 seconds in the minutes. Yeah.
Right.
Gotta love the add 30 seconds button.
Because for 10 years, I was just cooking everything on popcorn mode.
Oh, wow.
I'm weak.
Oh, wow.
I am weak. The funny thing is, with the popcorn mode, most of the freaking popcorn you buy, it says not to use the popcorn mode.
And
it's like, why did they even make this?
There's a good reason, because like if you get I have hit that button for every bag of popcorn I've ever had, and you have to stand by it. Like, if you don't, you will end up with charred black popcorn every single time. Every time. But it works for the bigger bags of popcorn, but it doesn't work for the smaller bags of popcorn.
Nope.
And our child doesn't care that I'm recording.
Oh,
why would you? So tell me, Ezrick, where can people find you? What are you doing? Where's your social stuff? People want to be your
Um,
fan, Ezrick. People want to follow you. They want to support you. They want to love you and hug you and be your friend. How do they do that?
well, you could always find me on TikTok at blind_in_ny, and my Instagram, where you can message me and reach out to me, you know, is new_Yorks underscore blindest.
Love it.
And that's where you can find me. It's I just want to circle back and maybe give, the people watching the live stream a little bit of a story that I'm eventually going to put on TikTok.
Yay.
But, we were talking about how, having the cane sometimes makes us seem as a target. And I've never, I haven't shared this story yet, but a couple of years ago, I was out with a friend of mine and an acquaintance of hers. And we were just so happened to be the wrong place at the wrong time. The South Bronx of, South Bronx in New York at like 3 o'clock in the morning. If I'm pretty sure everybody knows what the Bronx is. So, the South Bronx is like the worst of the worst of the Bronx. There's actually nice parts of the Bronx, believe it or not. But South Bronx, the area that I was at, Hunts Point, Soundview, that general area is not the greatest. And walking through the night with my friend who's a white girl from Rhode Island and her acquaintance at the time, this African guy that we knew, and walking through the late at night, and this guy comes up on a bike on the sidewalk, and like my friend stands over and pulls me and her to the one side. The other guy that we were with stands over to the other side to let this guy pass on his bike, and he stops in the middle of us, starts like mumbling some stuff, like I don't know if he was like on some drugs or whatever the hell, just starts mumbling some stuff. And I looked at my friend, I was like, you know what, just keep walking. As we start walking away, he starts like trying to come after us, and another guy appears, and he's like, I guess he finally saw the cane. He goes, oh, I didn't know homie was blind. Come back to the sidewalk. Now we're already walking through the middle of the street. And he's like, come back to the sidewalk. We could talk this out. And I'm like, in my head, I already knew. The moment we go in that general direction, those two are ready to attack us. God only knows what they're equipped with. For all I know, this man has the strength enough to pick up his bike and beat me with it. So, I look at my friend, I'm just like, keep walking. And the African, gentleman that we were with, he's like, oh, I'm from Nigeria. I don't give a fuck, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, of course you're going to run your mouth. And the guy goes, what did the African dude say? I was like, okay, now we book it. So we run. The African gentleman that we were with runs into like a corner store. I guess he knew the owner, one of the owners. He leaves us outside, and you just hear the rustling of the chains of the bike. And I looked at my friend. I was like, get in the fucking store. Just go inside. And as we go inside, you just hear the bikes just sliding past the store. Like they just missed us. Like they didn't even know that we were in the store. And finally we get to the African gentleman's house, and he's like telling one of his neighbors or his cousin, like, yo, they're fucking with us. These two guys, I've never really seen them. Maybe you've seen them, but like these two guys just came, try to like jump us on the bike. And like, ever since then, I equipped myself with, like, I don't know if this is going to get us like cut off of YouTube, but I equipped myself with a switchblade. I know legally in New York, it's not, legally allowed, but I'm sure like it's usable force. It's reasonable force considering I'm blind, and these are men that are probably a lot more muscular than me, definitely having a visual advantage over me. So yeah, if I cut them up and I hit an artery, so be it. I'm sure the judge is going to look at me and realize it's reasonable force.
Wow.
I'm probably going to get fined for having the knife, but fuck it. My safety is worth more than a couple $100.
Yeah.
I carry a collapsible baton, if that helps. And I'm supposed to have a concealed carry permit with that, but I carry one because of the same thing. If somebody wants to attack me on the street, I'm gonna have an upper hand there. But I also know it's illegal and I could get in trouble for it. But I want to get a concealed carry weapons permit and then maybe get a gun and go target shooting.
I still wouldn't. I still wouldn't carry one of those. Those
Well,
one.
my goal is to get a good site, to work with a site manufacturer so that I can get one of those digital sites because I only have one eye anyway. So looking through a site is obviously easy. And once you just digitally set it up to where you want to shoot it, shoot it. You know what I mean? I want to be a blind targetsman.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine a blind NRA? Like
Right?
just blind individuals.
You'd be
with guns?
surprised. I think in some states there's actually like blind gun clubs.
Mhm.
From what I've heard, I could be wrong. I think in Ohio there's something like that. Maybe Dave needs to look into this.
Dave, you got to tell us next week, man. If there's a blind gun club in Ohio, I need to move to Ohio because I am for it. Like I would love to see. Can you imagine the blind gun club like lobbying Congress for like gun rights? Like they're just
oh
like,
my
none
god!
of them can see.
I would just be terrified to be in the shooting range with them. No disrespect.
It would be hilarious. I'm sorry, it would just be hilarious.
I would be terrified to be in the same range as them. Like
locked, loaded, and blind would be the shirt. I would so love to see that.
God forbid one of them like gets disorientated and like turns to their left and is
that's when you get on the ground.
Range.
Just get down. Just at that point, just get down.
That's so funny. I told my friend I want a cow catcher for the new riding lawnmower we have, and he said that's. And then he was cutting the grass, and he's like, "I ran over like 20 things in the grass," and I was like, "You needed a cow catcher. I told you." I love that. And yeah, I went to the range and I used my friend's pistol and I didn't hit the target at all.
You hit the wall.
That made me realize I want to get better at this. And if people think that I can't shoot a gun because of my disability, then I want to shoot a gun. Yeah. It's a stubborn thing. You don't think I'm going to be able to make a cheesecake? Guess what? I'm going to make the best cheesecake you've ever had. Yeah. That's me. That's me though.
That's me too.
People want to know about you. They want to follow you, but they don't know where. They don't know how.
You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at The Barrett's Own Blurred. You can find me on Twitter where I tweet maybe once every 6 years at Barrett's Own Blurred because Twitter's too cheap to actually let you have more letters in your handle. But The Barrett's Own Blurred, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Barrett's Own Blurred on Twitter.
I love it. Hey, can I ask a question to both of you?
What's up?
How do I say the name Esli?
Esley.
Hi, Esley. She has been amazing. She's been in our chat the whole time, and I haven't mentioned anybody because I didn't know how to say her name.
Hey, Esley. What's going on, sis?
Been here all day. And I just wanted to shout out some other people. Shanice over here. She lives in Pensacola.
Shanice. I know Shanice. Hey, Shanice.
And I want to say hi to Daisy. Daisy was in the group, and Daisy's one of my favorite people in the world. By the way,
Daisy's dope.
Hello. So those are some of the great people in our chat, and they really love the perspectives we're sharing, and relationships are teamwork, and I love it all. They all love us, and we love all of them. I wanted to let them know we saw them, but sometimes I don't know how to. Want to like be stupid, but I should just learn to ask. I think that's a problem men have. We don't know, so we don't ask. We just guess, and sometimes that shit.
Yeah. Trust me, I know all about screwed up names. My user hand. I am at this point. I am very close to just changing my TikTok username to just my real name. I'm just calling it a day. I didn't know people could screw up baritone so badly,
right?
But. Yeah.
It's so weird. I was trying to tag you on Twitter and I was like, baritone, no. So I looked your name up and I was like, yeah, that's how you spell it. Baritone. Nope. Baritone. Nope. So I just finally, I don't know how I got to your TikTok, but I followed you and then I was like, baritone, there he is.
The only reason why it's not my real name, because I'm not one of those people that's like afraid to put my name out there. I just don't care. But because my family was hella uncreative when it came to like my name, because literally me and my minus the middle name, first and last name, my cousin, I have so many cousins with the same name I do.
That's hilarious.
But I think for my internship, because I'm becoming a therapist, they're
Mhm.
like, yeah, keep your actual name off the internet so your clients don't find you. I'm like, anybody who's that dedicated to look you up is going to find you one way or the other.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think at some point I'm just going to change all of my usernames to just my name, because why not? Why not? And I mean, they're going to it's going to get screwed up too, but at least it's my name. So I don't know.
Okay, I got you. And in my podcast career, I never use people's last names. I only use their first names, but that's for a longer term agenda, not because I had a female host and I was like, you just use your first name. And the first episode, she was like, here's my name, and I was like, oh, crap. And then she just started getting weird perverts, like just
Oh,
you know what I mean? And I
Ugh.
was like, so it's a rule of mine, just because
just stick with
people
the first
will
name.
they will hunt you down and they will rant and rave and attack you on the
Listen,
Oh, that's fine. Bring smoke.
Oh, I
Look, I
love
want
it.
all the smoke. Listen, I'm built sarcastic. So
Me too.
if you have anything you want to say to
Mhm.
me, you better bring. I'm from Philly. You better bring your A game. I've heard
Yeah.
worse in real life. So
I tried teaming up with a charity, and the guy that ran the charity sent me a message, and he was like, "Hey, we're getting a commenter from on Twitter that says you hate white people, and can we work with you?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I promote civil rights speeches. Like, I don't know what you're talking about." But there was a perception that I hated white people, and then they realized I was white, and they were like, "Oh shit." I just want justice. So that's all. I just want equality. I want equity. I just want, I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
There's an
definitely.
intersectionality to all of us. We all come from different backgrounds and different locations, the three of us, and even the people in the chat. We're all different genders and orientations, but we all suffer from this thing called blindness. And there's an intersectionality there.
Yeah.
There's 49 million non-institutionalized disabled people in this country. And that outranks most other demographics. And we have to realize that we're made up of everybody. And they need to realize that we are in their groups.
Even sighted people, we're all human. We
Mhm.
all like came from. I don't want to get like religious or anything, like, but we all came from essentially the same place originally.
Right. A pterodactyl. No, that's right. Then we're all in it together. And the sooner we realize that, the sooner we
Better
can.
off we are.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you back, man.
Same. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to stop the live stream. Is that okay?